Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Anna. I am a portrait photographer in the Chicagoland area, and today I'm actually not doing any portraits today, but I'm going to be focusing mainly on landscape. So since I haven't really had any clients right now, I've been focusing mainly on getting pictures of my family, and I've pretty much exhausted using them, so I'm going to resort to kind of going in my neighborhood and kind of looking for places that I can take some cool shots. So while my dad and I were kind of deciding on places to take some photos, we decided that Fort Sheridan would be a good idea to go take some photos. And this is kind of an area that's pretty close to me. It has a very small beach, but it is a nice beach and it does have some rocks. So we wanted to do some long exposure shots. Once we got to the beach, we basically had 45 minutes until the beach closed. One of the police officers had mentioned it to us while we were walking down, so it was basically just a race against time to just see if we can get some cool shots. While I did have my Canon with me, I had forgotten the exact mount that I needed, so basically the equipment that I was using today was my dad's, which is a Sony A7iii along with a 16 to 35 millimeter lens. Since this was a long exposure shot, we did want to use a neutral density filter, so we needed that as well as an adapter to fit onto the lens that we were using. I don't typically shoot with Sony, but I am pretty comfortable with long exposures. I don't do anything past 30 seconds only because that's pretty much what the camera allows me to go to. But basically what my dad has explained to me is that Sony has a specific app that they use, and you can basically open the shutter and close the shutter for as long as you want. And you have to really take into consideration how much light is coming in and how bright you want the photo to be. Once I got the shot that I wanted, I went ahead and grabbed all of my equipment and got off the beach because I did not want to get kicked off by the police, and started editing. So this is the image that I selected to edit today, and obviously since there isn't any people in it, I primarily focused on the rocks as the subject and pretty much changed a lot of the color. So when you go into the light panel, I added a lot of contrast because I wanted to really bring those rocks out. And the initial picture was really dark, and the problem was that a lot of the shadows were pretty dark as well, so I wanted to boost those up. And since I was using a Sony camera, the shadows came out pretty well. I think it doesn't really look that bad. So once we went into the colors, I pretty much changed the temperature. At first it came out pretty blue. You can't really see the pink in the sunsets, so I really wanted to bring that out. So I brought down the temperature to make it a little more blue, and then in the tint, I added it to be a little more pink, as well as boosting up the vibrance and the saturation. In the color mix, I pretty much selected any of the colors that I thought needed a little more of a boost. So you can see that in the pinks, I pretty much brought it up a little bit. You can see it on the horizon line, and as well as the purple, and added a little slight hue to the reds. Other than that, I pretty much just went ahead and did everything that I do normally. I went into the effects panel, and since it's pretty much just a landscape shot and there's no people, I can boost up the texture and the clarity more than I would normally with a subject in it. And into the details, I went ahead and sharpened it and added noise reduction, even though it didn't really need any. Other than that, I pretty much just went ahead and added a little more of some exposure and brought down the highlights, because in the middle of the photo you can tell that it's very bright. And I still wasn't happy with the way that the rocks were looking on the bottom of the photo, so I went ahead and drew over the bottom of it and brought the exposure back up. So one tip that I have for you when you're taking long exposure shots is to be very aware of how your tripod is reacting to the sand. So since I was on the beach, and I was pretty close to the water. Sometimes the water can move the tripod, and this can cause the photo to become blurry, which obviously you do not want. So one thing that I suggest is to invest in a tripod that has a little hook in the middle of the tripod, so it allows you to hang something. The tripod that we were using allows the ability to hang a backpack, so pretty much we use the backpack as an extra stabilizer on top of the tripod to make sure that it was that it basically stands and it doesn't allow the tripod to move around. Now, since we were using the Sony A7iii, usually you can just use night vision and pretty much get the focus exactly the way that you want it. But since the Canon that I use right now is pretty tricky when it comes to getting sunset shots or even sunrise shots or even galaxy shots using a neutral density filter, one thing that I'd recommend if you don't have a Sony is to pretty much get the focus before you put on the neutral density filter, because it is going to black everything out and it's pretty much just going to become a guessing game to if it's in focus or not. Usually, sometimes on cameras, they can tell you the depth. So if it's a certain amount of meters, you can kind of pretty much guess how the focus is going to be, and you can adjust it to how you think it's going to be. But usually the safest option is to pretty much just take the neutral density filter off, get the focus right, and then put it back on and then begin shooting again. But that is the end of this video. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified every single time I post a new video. If you guys like landscape shots and behind the scenes, pretty much talking about how I go through this process, let me know in the comments below, or if you want me to go back to portraits, I will do whatever you guys want. Just let me know in the comments below. As always, I hope you guys are staying safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.